Good morning. Well, today we got a little bit of maintenance on my XJ. A couple different issues. It's overdue for an oil change because, even though I'm running full synthetic in it, it's still, it's overdue. A lot of miles I put on this thing. But also it has a kind of a lean condition that it's been intermittent. It's been a pain in the ass to chase, so I'm going to try something a little different. All the fuel trims are out of spec. So since I'm going to reset all the trip computers and everything else with the oil change, I'm going to reset the fuel trims at the same time. I'm also going to change out the fuel filter, because most of the time when the performance restriction comes on, it's usually when I'm pulling a long hill and heavy throttle long hill, or similar engine load conditions for a period of time, which to me sounds like it's because it runs lean when it sets the engine code. So to me that sounds like it's a fuel filter or some other kind of starvation issue. I've chased a number of vacuum leaks in this car, so I'm pretty confident, other than something weird like a cracked intake, which unfortunately this car is known for. But we're gonna hopefully just change the fuel filter, reset all the trims, and see if it comes back to life. Yeah, so starting back here. And as always, take your negative cable off first. But yeah, to reset the trims, the easy way, you actually just touch the two battery cables together when everything's unhooked. Or you gotta let it sit for a while. I'm gonna just let it sit for a while because I gotta do all the other work on the car anyway. I did not depressurize the fuel system. That's not going to be the end of the world. I usually don't when I'm doing work like this. So yeah, my lovely little trunk back here. So anyway, I guess we'll go up front and get started on the oil change, and then we'll do the fuel filter, and then start everything up, top everything off, and then we should be good to go. Yeah, there's a mount right up here that I always like to grab. It's attached to a pretty substantial piece of material, so because unfortunately where you need to jack the car up at, there's no real good space to put a jack stand and tie into that same structural system. So I just grabbed this because it's tied into the same structural system. And I don't have to go up very much in the front here, just enough to clear the oil pan. And we're nice and seated. This is a 13mm drain plug. So didn't get quite tight enough last time. So yeah, this is kind of the end of the road for this oil plug. The gasket's pretty well shot. I wish I had caught that kind of last time I did an oil change, but hopefully it'll seal up okay, and I'll just swap it out next oil change. I mean, it's not like it's stripped or anything. It's just the gasket's toast. So age things gets us all. So on this particular car, the oil filter is actually right in a nice convenient spot. So this drain plug back in, then we'll see if we can spin that oil filter off one-handed. I'm a big fan of getting everything as clean as you can when you're done. Makes it a lot easier to spot an oil leak when you start everything back up. Okay. Oh, that's a little more than a single hand can do. Okay, got this one started. You always got to make sure you double check your seat gasket area, make sure the gasket didn't stay. I've had pretty good luck with these OEM filters and not losing the gasket. But a little stuff. And it's just a normal thread on, just like any other regular car. So. No, my car's not spoiled at all. I looked into buying high quality filters for it from aftermarket, and a little online shopping found that because unfortunately this filter is not available at the regular auto parts store in my area, so I'm forced to go online regardless. But when you're looking at the choice of spending $18 on a OEM Jaguar filter or spending $20 on a premium aftermarket filter, why wouldn't you just spend the $18 and buy the OEM? And I didn't used to fill up oil filters ahead of time, because you end up losing quite a bit of oil when you plug it in there. But I'd rather not hurt my motor. This is a fairly expensive motor to replace, so this was actually a really good motor. I was pleasantly surprised when I put it or did a compression check on it right after I bought the car. And mostly I was doing a compression check to make sure there wasn't something really wrong with the motor, because everything about this was an unknown, and it ran so bad when I got it. That way overfilled that. But you always got to make sure you have a little bit of oil on the gasket. I got a lot of oil on the gasket this time. That should be plenty to lube it up while it goes together. And now the oil filter's not totally dry either, which will keep the motor from starving on me. Leave a spill pan underneath just to catch whatever dribbles out, because again, always going to dribble out some. I have to work on getting some undercar lighting. Okay. And as it was taught to me many years ago, you go to the gasket touches, and give it another half a turn, up to maybe 3/4 of a turn, which is plenty tight. You go too much more than that, you risk damaging the oil filter. And again, wiping everything down when I'm done so I can see if there's any leaks. It looks like I got a little bit of wetness on the edge of this pan here, so I might have to fix that down the road. Alright then. And just normal. Topping the oil off. I ended up flipping this gasket over at one point, so trying to make it seal a little bit better. Kind of a similar problem that this one has. It's a power steering reservoir. I believe this is a BMW part that was brought over for this car. There's a number of things. This is a Ford era, as I call it, Jag. Because Jag, for almost 20 years, for basically 20 years, Jag was owned by Ford. They did a number of really good things to the brand. They got rid of the Lucas electrical systems, so this is all full Bosch electrical system in this car. They also were part of the team that designed this motor, or engine, however you want to say it. So the first year for this motor was 1998, and it is still in production in one variant or another today. This started out as a 4-liter. It has since been bored over to all the way up to a 5 liters. I think the current production version of this. Dual overhead cam, variable valve timing. The early gen had problems with their cylinders. They ran like a low friction coating on them, and with high sulfur fuels, they would actually eat the bore away on the car, or on the cylinders. So they went away from them, but even then, some of the early ones, they're not bad. They're just because the once they got rid of the low sulfur fuel, it cured the problem. They no longer wore out. Add some more. I like to get it all the way up to roughly the full mark, and then once I start the car, I'll go back and top it off one more time. Yeah, this car takes 7.5 quarts or so to get it all the way full. One. Half of that. That should be enough to start it once we get done playing with the fuel filter. Take a little bit more. Shouldn't take too much to top it off because I've pre-primed the oil filter. Right to the top of the hash tags, or hash bars. Alright, so the next part of this endeavor is reaching up in that little tiny ass hole, swapping out the fuel filter. I'm not sure how I'm going to get a camera in here to actually record this, but yeah, just put a wrench on. Well, show on this side. basically you put a wrench on the one thing to keep the body of the fuel filter from rotating, and then you undo those nuts. And then back up in this little hidden alcove is a retainer that holds this strap. So once it's all loose, you can slide it out. I've already pre-cracked these nuts, so they're not super tight at the moment. And on this car, the fuel comes in this side, closer to the differential, and then exits via these pipes all the way up to the front of the motor. Yeah. So we'll probably end up cutting this fuel filter open to see how bad it actually is, since I'm not going to put the used filter back on ever. That's loose. That side's loose. This other one loose. And there goes the fuel all over the place, including my light. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you actually pull the fuse while the engine's running and depressurize the system, so you don't spill gasoline all over your floor. Seems like it's cutting off now. Oh, this is so much fun. I love fuel filters. Make sure you're wearing your safety glasses when you're doing something like this, because even though there's no pressure on it, it's still trying to dribble all over the place under here. If we go up the other way, a little easier. Should have pulled that tire off too. Give me more room for my hand to work. Ooh, I stink good today. Alrighty then, old one is out. Now the line's pissing. Oh, great. I think I need to work fast. Alright, make sure you verify your flow direction. Yep, we're siphoning the tank out now. Alright, plug that off for right now. Come on. Hose it out of the way. Okay. Alright, there's half of it in. Yeah, it's siphoning the tank. Also why you don't do fuel filters on a full tank like I just did. Alright, now that I'm completely covered in gasoline and I've made a mess all over my floor, let's get these nuts tightened up. That one's snugged. Let's get this other one snugged. And we'll get the pan out of here and tighten them up all the way. So the pan is fuming my eyeballs out right now. Okay, those are snugged. Alright, let's get this pan away from my head. Gasoline. Okay. So then for your final tight, always put a backing net on, or a backing wrench on the filter. You do not want to twist, because that little nut will grab the pipe and twist it into and twist the very end of it. Just like brake line's going to do the same thing. And I'd rather not have ruined that thing. Something I can just put a backing wrench on. Get it nice and snug. Okay. And now, tighten this little bugger up. Make sure there's no tension on the hose or on the hard lines. You tighten up your filter. So you want to just lay in there nice and gentle like. One of those many little things about this car where previous owners just kind of half-assed it, didn't really care, put the wrong bolt in this bracket so it was just barely in there, it wasn't actually holding anything. Filter just rattling around. So I dug through my bolt pop and made sure everything was all good. All right. Again, clean and dry everything real good. We're going to open up the garage, let everything vent for a little bit before I fire this thing back up, because I really don't feel like having to fire today. Alright, no signs of leaking, that's a good thing. It's kind of hard to see before I got the door open now, so it's a little lighter. But I ended up, this bolt used to be actually in this other position. They had 3 different positions depending on what size battery. This was all seized up into the hole. I finally soaked it enough, it decided to let go today. And straightened the bolt back out. It was actually missing the hardware over here when I got the car, so I bent up a bracket and bolted that down. But put a couple chunks of rubber hose underneath the bracket, so it's just locked in nice and solid now. Which again, not the case when I got the car, as it was just a big old open hole with the battery rattling around. Does not give me a lot of confidence about safety, so better now, all good. Alright, let's check our fluids. So pretty sure we're down a little bit. So we're right at the minimum. So let's roll forward in, and that should get us right where we want to be in the end. Star likes to drink a little bit of oil, so it's kind of nice to buy these in 5-quart jugs. I end up with about 2 quarts left over, and kind of top it off as you go through the cycle. About 2. Start coming up. Alright, we're all the way through with that. Not exactly a rigid machining operation here. Like machining a rubber band. Actually, this filter's not bad at all. It's got a little bit of crusties, down inside there, but man, this filter medium's very hard though. Sure, I like that medium. Now, it's got a different brand of filter on there now, so hopefully it'll work a little bit better than this one did. You know, some of the I know with the transmissions, they're real picky about the filters you put in them. Some of the aftermarket ones just don't flow like they're supposed to. And this one being as hard as everything is, it's not kind of surprising that it's if it was to have a flow issue. So that's about it for today. Catch you next time.